To today's special webinar from Resilience Agenda. My name's Hadleigh Fischer and I'm here to talk us through a little bit of a technique for 2025 for making our goals a reality and for making time for what matters. I think so many of us feel burnt out and overwhelmed and distracted at times. And one of our goals at Resilience Agenda, of course, it's to help share the mental fitness message, but it's help us to make time for our mental fitness. My name's Hadleigh Fischer, and people are joining us from all over the world today. So jump into the chat there and let us know where you're from. Let us know the most exotic place you're from, what city you're from. Is it cold or is it warm? We've got people from Australia joining us today. We've got people joining us from the United Kingdom, from Europe, from Asia, from Hong Kong, from the Philippines, from Malaysia, from America, all over the world. The webinar is going to go for about 45 minutes or so. There's going to be an opportunity for you to ask yourself questions towards the end. And what I want to do is just run through a little bit about what we're going to go through today. So I want to quickly back up and talk about mental fitness. And if you've got the 2025 mental fitness diary and planner in front of you, or you've been given one by a friend, I just want to quickly go over the key points for what mental fitness is all about. And then we're going to talk about how mental fitness gives us strategies to beat burnout and to feel clearer and calmer. How to have a good day. How to plan our time. I think that's really, really important. The power of planning. And then we're going to talk a bit about what we've got planned for the year here at Resilience Agenda. My name's Hadleigh Fischer. I founded Resilience Agenda 8 years ago because I grew up in a family affected by poor mental health. Everyone in my family was affected by poor mental health. And despite being as close to it as you could be, I didn't really know much about it. I was ashamed of it, and as a lot of us know, mental health is mired in stigma and misunderstanding, which leads to a lot of people not wanting to take action on it, and it's really confusing. And what we like to do at Resilience Agenda is share wisdom and science together for how to apply the science of good mental health to our daily lives, because we know we need it. Over time, I realised that my friends and my colleagues were affected by poor mental health as well. And I thought to myself, I want to avoid this trap myself. What can I do to protect my mental health? And that got me learning all about the science of neuroscience and psychology and philosophy, well-being science, behavioural activation, and I started using the term mental fitness, and I wanted to share that message with people around the world. And as soon as I started talking about mental fitness and not mental health, people started to really listen. And today, Resilience Agenda has operations all around the world. We have around 30,000 customers and supporters around the world. We have warehouses shipping our diaries from 4 different warehouses. I think last year we shipped to over 65 countries. We do corporate webinars, we do webinars and workshops with schools. We're excited to talk to you about our online courses that we're going to be bringing out later this year. We've got a podcast. And so our big idea is helping you to make mental fitness a way of life and to integrate the strategies and tools of mental fitness into how you plan your day. So why do we exist? What is the point of mental fitness? We know that there are statistics that tell us that 1 in 4 people in a given year will experience a diagnosis of mental illness. The 2 most common mental illnesses are anxiety and depression, anxiety disorder and major depression. And then there are the rarer and more serious conditions like bipolar and schizophrenia. We know that 1 in 2 people in a lifetime will experience a mental health condition. And mental illness is just like physical illness. it really affects the quality of our lives. And of course, when it comes to mental health, the people who are struggling the most, it often leads to suicide. In Australia, there are 8 suicides a day. 5 of them are male. In the United Kingdom, there are 15 suicides a day. 2/3 of them are male. And a lot of talk and attention and awareness around mental health revolves around people who are at the left end, this red side of the mental fitness continuum. And one of the big ideas of mental fitness is that we aren't just healthy or ill. One way to think of the continuum is on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 on the left and 10 on the right. And this is a normal distribution, which is a scientific term for how many people there are in a population. And whilst there might be a quarter of the people in a given year who are diagnosed with a mental illness, there are a lot more people who are languishing or struggling with almost a mental illness, or their life circumstances or something in the way they're responding to events is leading them to act as if they have a mental illness. And so our goal with mental fitness and all the things we do is to help people move to the right of this continuum. It's normal to go left and right, and when something tough happens in your life, for example, back in June of this year, my mother passed away. And if a major setback happens in your life while you are at a 7 or an 8 and you're doing well, you might fall back to a 5, and that might be tough for a while, but you tend not to stay there, you tend to bounce back. That's what resilience is all about. But if you're at a 3 or a 4 on the scale, and a major setback happens, you lose a relationship, you have financial dramas, you lose your job, even something small, you can fall into that zone of mental illness, and it can be really hard to get out. And so mental fitness is all about having the tools in advance, knowing them, knowing how they work, knowing how to apply them, knowing which ones suit you, having them in advance so that you can call on them, like a tool set. You don't always need every tool in your toolbox. You need to use the right tool for the right situation. And the idea is that we want to become moderately mentally well or even mentally fit. And that means that when challenges and setbacks and criticism and failure happens in our life, it doesn't mean we just think positively about it and overlook it. It means we have the skills to learn from it, to find meaning in it and share it with others. And this is a lifelong learning process. And just like physical fitness, if you don't use it, you lose it. And they didn't teach us these skills in school. We don't learn these skills in school. And often by the time we go to therapy, it can be too late. And so that's our big idea, is that everyone has mental health. Some people have a mental illness. Everyone can improve their mental fitness. And that leads us to what mental fitness actually is. It's the mindset, process, and strategies for developing, maintaining, and improving good mental health. That's not about mental illness per se. So the mindset of mental fitness is that it can be improved. A lot of people think, I was just born this way, or because this thing happened to me, I'm bound to be miserable, or my parents were like this, I have to be like this. Well, the science, and thankfully my personal experience, says that that's not true. And so it's this belief that with effort and time and support, we can improve our mental health. The process of improving our mental fitness is similar to improving our physical fitness. We set goals, we choose from a variety of tools and methodologies that work for us. We make time for it, we build habits, we expect setbacks and injuries, but we have strategies to recover. It's often more fun when we do it with other people rather than alone. That's the process. And the strategies are the things that actually help. And if you spent any time on the internet or on TikTok or Instagram, you will find all sorts of different ideas and tactics for how to protect and improve your mental health. The thing is that they're often scattered, they're often not structured, and it can often feel overwhelming and people don't know where to start. And so what we've done at Resilience Agenda is gone through all the science and all the philosophy and all the best ideas, what works, because when it comes to protecting our mental health, it's not just what happens in our head, it's also our physical health, our energy, and the way we act and behave. And so one of our core ideas is this mental fitness toolkit. And the mental fitness toolkit is made up of the 10 tools that you can refer to, learn, optimize, hopefully in advance, and then turn to when you need them, when times get tough. And often when we're descending into a spiral of feeling bad and thinking negatively, we often lose sight of these things, which is why planning time for them, what we're going to talk about in a moment, building the habits of these things is so important. And I'll just run through them really, really quickly. So movement is more than just exercise. We know that exercise is as good as antidepressants for helping with depression, for mild to moderate depression. And movement is more than just going to the gym or running for an hour. It's getting up off your chair or your couch every 45 minutes. It's doing a few stretches here and there. It's working at a standing desk. Even incidental movement, anything that stops you being sedentary, is really good for us. Nutrition. There's amazing science coming out how what we eat impacts our energy, impacts our brain, impacts our mood, and impacts our mental health. And one of the big takeaways that we like to share at Resilience Agenda is that nutrition is about more than weight loss. Even if you're not seeing progress on the scales, it still pays, excuse me, it still pays to invest in nutrition because it affects how you feel. It affects your gut microbiome and your metabolism. There's amazing research coming out about this. So what can we do to build better habits? And it's not about paleo or vegan or whatever favorite diet you might have. It's about the principles of how we eat and how we provide the nutrition, the good stuff that our bodies need. Over the last 12 months, we actually changed sleep to rest in our toolkit. Sleep is one of the most important things we do. Think about this. If evolution decided that we didn't need to sleep over millions of years, it would have breeded it out of humans and other animals. And when we sleep, we're pretty vulnerable. And there must be a good reason for it. And so new science over the last 20 years has shown that sleep's really important. But more than that, we also need rest throughout the day. We need breaks. We need to stop or pause before we burn out or get overwhelmed. And that's really important. Connection is the #1 predictor of well-being. Social support, having friends, incidental colleagues. And you might have heard about the loneliness epidemic that's affecting the world. Well, it's a real thing, and there are ways to build connection. There are ways to support others. There are ways to bring people into your team. There are ways to deepen the connections you've already got. Mindset is the attitude you take to the world and the way you deal with things. What's your attitude towards stress? Do you see things as problems or challenges? Do you have a growth mindset? What happens when you fail? Can you learn from something? Can you improve? And those top lines we call the foundations of mental fitness. We all move, we all eat, we all sleep, we all interact with others, and we all think. The question is, how well do you do them? And it's not about putting pressure on yourself, it's just about doing what you can. And for example, we know that if you have a bad night's sleep, it affects the way you process food, in particular glucose, the next day. And what that means is if you have a bad night's sleep, you should be really careful about what you eat the next day. And if you do eat something that's a bit unhealthy, you can go for a walk afterwards, and that can affect how it impacts your body. So these things are really powerful tools. And then I won't go into them in detail, but purpose and focus and appreciation, reframing and perspective, these are all things that happen in our heads that aren't essential. And these are the, I guess, extra skills that give us the knowledge and the confidence and the wisdom to handle life's inevitable setbacks really well. And so all of our content, all of our diaries and workshops and everything is, and our online content is designed to help you bring this toolkit into your daily life. I suppose the thing that Resilience Agenda is most known for is our planners, our diaries. We have about 30,000 people every year who use our planners to learn about mental fitness, to plan their days, and to make time for mental fitness. And we often get asked, well, why should I use a paper planner when I use a Google Calendar? And I use both. There's a number of different ways to use your planner, and I just want to go through them. You might find that you've got a planner that someone's given you or that you've bought for yourself, and you might find that you're not using it as much as you like next to your Google Calendar. That's fine. It might be that you want to use both together. That's what we're going to talk about now. So you can use it like most people do to plan your time, or what's called an appointment book. And so we've got two versions of the planner. One is a daily version where there's half a spread for one day, and then there's the weekly version, which has got the whole week on a 2-page spread. The advantage of the weekly spread is that it allows you to look at your whole week in one go. What am I doing at lunchtime every day? What am I doing first thing in the morning? What am I doing in the evenings? Do I have too many meetings booked? It allows you just to compare days. That's one of the great things about the weekly. We also brought out the daily because a lot of people wanted more space to write, which makes total sense. Less able to compare days, but gives you more space to just plan your time. And so what you want to do in your day, the things that matter. Is it playing with your kids? Is it going to work? Is it commuting? The highlights of your day, the things that matter, should go in your planner. And for people who use both paper planners and online tools, I often say, put the detail, the actual meetings themselves, or the different things in your online calendar, and put the high level stuff in your paper planner. One of the most popular features of our planners is the ability to prioritize, and you'll see the top 3 section. We'll talk about that in a moment. Having priorities in the day is really important. Most people work by a to-do list, and the reason why to-do lists leave us feeling overwhelmed and stressed is because we don't make really difficult decisions about what the most important thing is to do that day. We try and get 10 things done in a day, or we do something that's not actually that important, but it's more urgent, or it's a smaller task, it's easier. And because we don't prioritize, we don't get it done. What we schedule, what we prioritize, gets done. And it often does require difficult trade-offs. Habit tracking. You can track anything you're trying to change, whether you've got New Year's resolutions, whether it's one of the monthly themes that you're trying to learn in your life from the diary. You can track habits, you can track your weight, you can track what you're eating, you can track how much you're using social media. And it's great to do these things with digital tools. They're getting better and better. But the process of actually writing down something and reflecting on it and comparing it to yesterday is actually really powerful as well. Well-being planning. This is the one that I think is the original reason why we started the planner, why we started the company. and that is that people don't make time for their mental fitness. People don't put their toolkit activities when they sleep, when they move, when they're catching up with people, when they are preparing dinner, when they are going to write or think or meditate. They don't put them into their diary. They rely on how they feel after work or when they get up. And you often get up and you're not in the mood for something. And so you might go to what's automatic, which is sitting down and watching TV or using your phone, and that might not be what you want to do. Whereas if you've planned ahead, either the night before or earlier in the day, this is what I'm going to do at 5 o'clock. You've got an appointment with yourself. It's much harder to cancel on an appointment that's in your planner. And so that's the thing we encourage you to do. Put your toolkit activities, your meal prep, your movement, your walks, your stretches, your breaks, your sleep times, when you get up, when you go to bed, when you're available to catch up with other people, all those different things. The diary shows you how to do that. We're going to talk about time blocking in a moment. Time blocking is basically taking your priorities and actually giving them a set time throughout the day. And I am always, even though I've been doing this for 15 years, still staggered how I can make a list of the 5 things I want to do today, the top 3 that are really important, and then when I actually go through and figure out when I'm going to start, how long I think that task is going to take, and actually, that's going to be 2 hours. That's going to be 2 hours. I need to have lunch. Okay, 5 hours already. I better go for a walk. That's 6. The day disappears, and that's why it's so important to plan and prioritize your time, because otherwise things just get away from you and other people's priorities and distractions get in the way. You can use your diary or a planner as a journal. You may or may not use a notebook already, but you can write notes from meetings. You can write key points. You can use it to track how you're feeling. You might do that while you're having your morning coffee. A lot of people use the diary to sit by their bedside, and they get inspired by the quote of the day or one of the monthly themes. And as they're going to bed, they use it as a dump pad to just download the worries on their mind. And I find this a really powerful tool as well. I use a separate notebook for that, but some people use the planner. One of the best things you can do to get a good night's sleep, rather than stewing on what's on your mind, is planning and writing down what's on your mind. You don't even have to organize it then and there. You write it down there, and then the next day when you get up, you've given yourself permission to forget all those things that you would worry about in bed. And then from all those things that you're worrying about, you go, okay, this is what I've got to do first. This is what I'm going to do second. And that can be how one day links to the next, because a great day, a great morning often starts the night before. And you can use it for gratitude tracking. So you might have heard that tracking 3 good things that happened each day is a really powerful tool. A lot of people know this intellectually, but they don't do it. And that negativity bias that constantly has us seeking out what's wrong, what we don't have enough of, how other people have injured us, we forget to think, hang on, this is actually okay. This is a good thing. And one of the things I always say about gratitude is that it's not about being totally grateful for your life. Gratitude is about being really, really specific. Be specific. 10 terrible things might have happened, but someone sent me a nice card, or I had a lovely coffee, or I was able to make a nice meal today. And the more you notice these things, the more they actually happen. I think we've covered why you should use a planner, but I just want to share with you this idea about how you can structure your day. We've just talked about planning, and that's what we're going to go through in a moment. The start of the day is about how you organize your time. And you might think of that as your morning routine. If you spend any time on the internet over the last few years, you'll see that morning routines are really popular. Everyone's got the perfect morning routine. You don't have to copy exactly what they do, but it is helpful to have a bit of a structure for how your morning unfolds, whether it's getting out of bed, going for a walk, when coffee and breakfast happen, do you do any stretching? And often a lot of those toolkit activities are best done, if we can, in the morning. It depends on if you've got young kids or other obligations, but planning how your day goes is really important. And a lot of people say, well, why should I plan my time if things are just going to go off plan anyway? I have to be flexible. Well, this is true, but the science, the anecdotal evidence, the people I talk to, the workshops I run, people who don't plan their time, they get overwhelmed because they don't know what they're supposed to be, what road they're supposed to be going on. You can't really be distracted from something if you're not attracted to something in particular. So if you set 3 or 4 goals in a day and they don't happen, that's not the end of the world. It means that you decided, okay, something else came up that was more important. But not every day will be a write-off. And so on those days, you want to try and make the most of them. And so planning how the day works. And then throughout the day, most of us have 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 jobs, or we work at home looking after kids, or we might work in the gig economy, whatever it might be. There's a time throughout the day when we have to contribute and do our thing, whatever our thing is. Most people call it work. And there are ways to work, whether you're a tradie, or whether you're sitting behind a desk, or whether you're interacting with customers. Not everyone has the same level of control over how their day unfolds, but you can at least focus on what you can control, which is a big mental fitness skill as well. And I think one of the most overlooked parts of planning our day and planning our energy and time is how we recover. And think of yourself like an athlete. They plan and they strategize what they're going to do, they actually perform, and then they don't just go home, they recover. And so for a lot of us working in offices, that means wrapping up the day effectively. Having a hard close is a great idea. Taking a few notes on what you actually completed, what you didn't complete, what you know is going to be bothering you overnight. I find this so powerful. On days when I don't write down what's next or what tomorrow's priorities are, or summarize my to-do list, I spend the rest of the evening thinking about those things. So it allows you to switch off. And then there's the practical side of things. Often it's a really good idea to go for a walk, or do some yoga, or catch up with someone, or spend some quality time with your kids, or learn something in the evenings. And when you don't plan those activities, they don't happen. You just don't feel like it often. And there's no such thing as free time. There will never be free time in the future for you to do something. You've got to make the time now. And that can be really hard to do, but to start by, okay, I'm going to do yoga from 5 till 6, 3 days a week. You put it in your planner and you try and make it a reality. You track and see whether that happened. Even free time, time that you might want to waste, can actually be planned. I'm going to be unstructured and forget about work from 7 onwards tonight. This is basically how I try and plan my time. Or I'm going to play guitar from 8 till 10, or whatever it might be. So there are 3 reasons why you might use a planner. And then the way you start the day, so that morning routine, that planning step, I think we covered this a little bit already, but you set priorities with purpose. A lot of people confuse what is important with what is merely urgent. Some things are urgent, but not important. Say, a phone call from a telemarketer, but we stick on the phone for half an hour. Some things are important, but they're not urgent. A lot of really important things fall into this category. Mental fitness, physical fitness activities fall into that category. And then there's the urgent and the important. There's a good chance you're actually doing most of them already. We've talked about reflecting and preparing, and then visualizing success. That's not woo-woo necessarily, it's just visualizing when does that go into your day. And then throughout the day when you're performing, track your energy levels, plan to pause. Know when your breaks are likely to be, and try and have a break, especially if you're a knowledge worker or working at a desk. Try and plan breaks before you need them, before you burn out. And then when you're having a break, try and do something that's a different mental channel from what you're already doing. So many of us go from checking emails and doing work on our computers straight into our phones. We check the news, we check WhatsApp, we check social media, and it's overwhelming. And we take the emotional stress that we often don't realize we're absorbing back into our work, and it drains us. And often we go back and forward between the two. We've talked about planning breaks. If you have more control over your time, you should plan breaks. And that includes movement breaks or going out and getting a drink. Hydrating is really important. And then we talked about that closing down and recover. What did you actually get done today? Did what you did match what you planned to do? If other distractions and other priorities came along, that's fine as well. Celebrate wins, either just by jotting them down in your top 3 at the bottom of each page, and then plan ahead to tomorrow. And I think this is really important, planning time for mental fitness. We touched on this earlier, but reflecting on the skill or the thing you're trying to learn, putting it in your planner, making it a priority. I like to always have one of my top 3 for the day as a well-being activity. So as a general rule, in my top 3, I will have one thing for work. What's the one thing for work today? For my team, for supporting my team, for supporting my customers, for creating some new thing, like putting these slides together. What's the one thing that I have to do today? And then what's the one thing for my health or my mental fitness that's going to support my work, my energy? I am going to go outside for a walk today. I'm going to go for a gym visit today. I need to stretch because I'm feeling tired. So it's a well-being thing. And then the third thing that's often in there is a personal connection thing or a hobby. I'm going to read this book and learn something. I'm going to catch up with a friend because I'm feeling disconnected. I'm going to do an important task at home, whatever it might be. That's how I like to plan my day. And so these are the top 3 sections in your planner. And I think it's a really powerful skill. You don't even have to use this planner, our diary, to do the top 3 concept. You can do it in a Google Calendar, you can do it in a Microsoft Note, you can do it on the back of an envelope, you can do it on a to-do list or whatever on your phone. It's simply a matter of writing in the 3 things you're going to do. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. You can write the activity that you're going to do. Go for a 1-hour walk. Spend 2 hours working on the presentation slides. Or a great way to plan your top 3 or to plan any to-do list item is, what will it look like when it's done? What does success look like when it's done? Complete 14 slides of the webinar. That's an example. Write 500 words so you know what it looks like. It's not so much a time thing, it's an output thing. 2 different ways of planning your time. Spend 4 hours going for a hike with the kids, whatever it is. You also notice on these pages that we have our famous inspirational quotes, and we love our quotes. A lot of people talk about them with their friends. They post them online each day. We know that workplaces talk about them in their Monday morning meeting. In the weekly diary, there's a new quote every week. And in the daily diary, there's 365 of them. So there's actually a new one every single day. And I think the reason why people love the mental fitness approach, the way Resilience Agenda works, is because we're not constantly telling you woo-woo things and you're going to succeed and you can be happy all the time. We're trying to bring the best science, the best wisdom, the best insights for how to plan our lives into into our time. We've got a question here from Trish. Trish is saying, should I journal twice a day? I try and draw a distinction between journaling, which is like an activity of writing and making dot points and really going deep with our thoughts, from organising our time. So I personally, when I get up, I spend 5 or 10 minutes with my morning coffee, simply writing down in my notebook, not in my diary, because I do a lot of writing. In my notebook, I write what's on my mind, what's worrying me, what are the key priorities for the day, what do I need to attend to. And then in the evening, I might just do a top 3 thing that went well. So I actually achieved that project, I booked a trip here, I had a great conversation with my brother, whatever it might be. So it doesn't have to be long periods of journaling, it's just reflecting often on what your priorities are and going back to it. So in the morning, you plan what you're going to do, in the evening, you figure out whether you did it or not and how you're going to make tomorrow's planning even better. So I hope that helps. So January, we're in January right now. What I've been doing with my diary is filling up these pages. I should have actually put the January page in the slides, but all the school holidays, all my travel around the world. So I'm going to Asia, I'm going to Australia this year, I'm going to the UK, I'm going to Norway, going to different countries to present. And all those trips are shaded out in my planner. The important presentations I'm doing, the important deadlines for things I'm building, they all go in here. And this is actually my overview, and this is a great place to start. Look ahead to the year. When have you got visitors coming? When are the kids going away? What might interrupt your regular well-being plans, your habits? Let's say you're trying to go for a walk and do 10,000 steps every day. Well, are you going to have surgery back in October, which means in that time, I'm going to have to cross that out. So this is a great way of planning the year ahead. And then the monthly overview. Now I'm already doing January. Here I put the 1 or 2 most important things that are going to happen each day in here. This is the big thing. So when I want to get a monthly overview of what am I going to be doing in January, it goes here. A couple of years ago, when we first started Resilience Agenda, we actually had the monthly spread where you might expect it at the start of each month. And sometimes people ask us why it's not there. The reason why is because it can make the continuity using the diary a bit awkward, because you've got 2 pages of this, you've got 2 pages of the mental fitness theme that we explain. And so we did change it. We have considered going back, so we'd love to hear your opinion. Would you prefer to see the monthly spreads where they are all together, where you can get an overview of your months? I like to put one of the 2 ribbons into the current month. I can get a monthly overview, and then I keep the other ribbon in whatever day or week it happens to be. So that's the monthly overview, and I'm filling that in right now. And my monthly goals, I put in here, and that might be, I'm going to focus on the reflect step or the action step from that monthly theme. I'm going to make sure this is the month that I organise my finances, because a lot of the tasks that we have in life, a lot of the things we need to do, they're actually projects. You can't do them in 2 minutes. You can't do them in 5 minutes. I'm going to sort out the garage. That might be every weekend for 4 weeks. Put that in your schedule. I'm going to... Oh, look, Patrick said I'm going to finish my daily commitment to swimming. So, he's going to put swimming in his planner. There'll be a replay, of course, if you can't make the end, Patrick. So you can put those key activities in there, which I really like. Oh, there we go. All right, so just having a bit of a technical issue here. There we go. There we go. All right, so the monthly theme. This is the thing we're really, really proud of in our planner. This is the thing that I guess we're known for. This is one of the main ways that we share the mental fitness message. And the idea is that each month you learn a new mental fitness skill, and over the year you're going to have 36 new skills. Each month builds on the previous skill and takes you through the year ahead. And if you've got the diary already, if you have already got one, you'll see that these are our themes for this year. There are different elements of the toolkit. Each one of these matches up to the toolkit. The make it happen steps are the reflection. Each month there's something just to think about. This one doesn't require much effort. You might want to put it in your planner each day to think about. You might want to journal and use these as journal prompts. Plan is when you actually put something into your planner. How can I schedule a new thing, a new habit here? And writing and making change is really important. When you're setting New Year's resolutions, if you are a person who sets New Year's resolutions, it's not enough to say, I'm going to get healthy. You need to actually define the action step. I'm going to walk 10,000 steps a day. I am going to go for a 1-hour walk every morning. That's the kind of thing that goes in your planner. And then act is a new skill or a new habit. And here we have our two spreads. On the left, we've got our weekly spread where you can compare the days and there's a bit less space. On the right, you've got much more space. And one thing I'm doing this year, because it's the first time we built the diary, is I'm actually using the daily myself this year. And one thing I've started doing is putting a vertical line about 1/3 of the way to the right, because I don't actually need all that horizontal space for different things. And it just gives me more space as I plan my day. I've got a question from Ashish. Do you encourage teens to get into resilience agenda? We often get this question about whether the diaries are suitable for children or teenagers. My general answer is no, they're not particularly suitable for children, especially under, say, primary school age. I think the language, the English comprehension, the differentiation of terms can sometimes be a little much. But the idea that teenagers can learn about their mental health, can improve their resilience, even if they're fine, to plan their sleep schedules and activities and sports, absolutely. To figure out what their top 3 priorities are, so the default answer is not always to jump on social media or to be on their phones. I think it's a wonderful thing. The challenge, of course, with teens is getting them to stick with it. You can't just tell them to do it. They've got to understand the background to it, and so that would be my answer there. Time blocking, and here's an example. This is one of my examples, and let's give you some time to read through that. 2 hours of deep work doing the 25-26 budget for the year ahead, going to the gym with Tony at lunchtime. That's what I'm going to do. Hard close at 6 o'clock because I'm going for dinner with Rob. Little things like that. Or you can put small things in. Research Rob's birthday venue. That may not have a particular time in the day. And then the time blocking part is one of the most powerful things you can do to make sure you're not overwhelming yourself in a day. And when you actually start to, okay, I'm going to do an hour on emails, I'm going to do 2 hours on the webinar, I'm going to go for a walk, the day starts to get really full. And often the things that are important, getting outside, catching up with someone, preparing dinner. Who puts preparing dinner in their schedule? I do, because I enjoy it. Good nutrition is important to me. I enjoy the half an hour that it takes to make food. I put half an hour in for dinner. I think that's a really important thing. And if you don't have time to cook, it's often because your day is creeping into your evenings. And I think that's a really powerful thing. I think that's about it for the diary part. Before we move on to the next section, does anyone have any questions? I know Karen says with the daily planner, I'm including the power principle on the right-hand side of the top 3 space, so you can put little lines in. Peter, thanks so much, Peter. Peter's one of our long-time supporters. Hopefully the example I showed there, Brooke, works for you. Anne-Marie, you've been with us since 2016. You've seen the diary and the planner evolve every year, and we like to get better every year. One thing I will say is that we always try and improve at Resilience Agenda, and this year we made a decision, because of the thickness of the daily diary, to go for thinner paper. And in hindsight, I think that was the wrong choice. So please be assured that for next year, we're going to be working on getting the higher quality paper that we've had in the past and making that work with the daily diary. Annalisa, everyone needs to work on their mental fitness. Just because you might be feeling flat or whatever it might be, we all need to work on our mental fitness in different ways. Some of us need it a bit more than others, but thank you so much for your lovely feedback. Keep asking questions. Of course, Resilience Agenda is about more than just the planner, and we're actually building more and more this year. We are building a database of articles online. It's pretty small at the moment. We've totally reinvented our blog and taken things off and put some new things back. So that's one thing we're going to be doing. A lot of people learn by video, and this is something that has been new for me. I love writing, I love reading, I love books. Not everyone does. Not everyone's got the time for it. And so learning by video, learning by podcast is really powerful. And in 2024, we did I think it was about 22 podcast episodes. We've done 3 seasons now. We're going to be bringing out a new season at the end of, or in the middle to the end of 2025. We interview really amazing scientists and thinkers and storytellers, and one of my favourite things to do is I learn so much from going for a walk and listening to my own podcast. That's a great way to stack a movement habit with a learning and a mental fitness habit. So jump onto our website, resilienceagenda.com, where you can see our articles, our videos, and our podcasts. And at Resilience Agenda, for those of you who might be interested, of course we do our diaries, our notebooks, and our pens. They make great gifts. Many of you will have purchased these as gifts for friends and family, for your colleagues. A lot of large companies use them to inspire their teams and their staff and say, look, we care, we want to do something to show you that we care. Here's a tool to support your well-being and resilience. This year, we're really excited to launch some online courses. I'll talk about that in a moment. And we also do corporate workshops and presentations and talks and things like that. We've got one coming up in the UK in the middle of the year. There's one in Switzerland in May, which I'm really excited about, and one in September for the World Mental Health Day as well. So that's really exciting. So jump onto our website, get in touch with us, you'll learn more about this. One thing I'm really excited about, and I'm working really hard on at the moment, is Mental Fitness Daily. A lot of people we speak to, everyone, probably not everyone, but I'd say 99.9% of people who I've spoken to in the last 10 years about the mental fitness message gets it, thinks it's common sense, thinks it's a great way to organise their well-being, to make it a part of their life. And not everyone likes paper. And some people purchase a diary and decide they don't want to use it, or some people decide, no, I'm going to stick with my online calendar. Some people, don't want to use paper at all. This year, we're bringing out Mental Fitness Daily online courses. So what is it? It's on-demand video sessions. It's basically really structured versions of what you're watching now, with tools and science and background and really powerful practical examples and insights. The first thing we're going to do is a 28-day mental fitness boot camp. Those skills from the toolkit, those skills of how to think, how to deal with our emotions, and how to act and plan our time, we're going to deep dive into those. You can learn mental fitness in 15 minutes a day. So just like we encourage you to sit down with your diary over a morning coffee or during a break or when you get up, you can do the same thing with one of our videos. It's going to be on an app, it's going to be on your screen or your tablet. You can learn about this. Over 28 days, you're going to learn 28 really practical tools. You can learn from anywhere. It's for anyone who's interested in mental fitness, for whether you're someone who's used one of our diaries before, or you're someone who hasn't used our diaries before, someone who wants to discover the wisdom of mental fitness and just keep it front of mind every day. That's who this is for. We're going to be launching it in the middle of the year, and for our special supporters, which includes the people who are here today, we want to give you a special discount. There's going to be a small cost to it. It's going to be 7 hours of in-depth video content. To sign up, to learn more about it, jump onto our website and go to our webinar page, and you'll our courses page. Go to our courses page, and you'll be able to discover more and express your interest. And like everything we do at Resilience Agenda, if you don't like it, you're not satisfied, we'll give you your money back. We're that confident that it's going to work. We do lots of work with companies around the world. Most of you won't be interested in that. And I think with that, we would love to hear any questions you might have. I think we're going a little bit over time, but forgive me. Claire, thanks for sticking with us. That's a growth mindset. I bought my planner in 2022, 23, 24. This year I'm actually going to use it. I think this webinar should really help. Suzanne, I think you said that sounds great. Karen, it's going to be wonderful. Annalisa, thanks so much for your comments. John, it's great to have John here. One of the things I love about mental fitness is how it's such an open term for men, for women, for young and old. I think it's a really powerful tool. Does anyone else have any comments or questions they'd like to share with us? Yeah, Brooke said this is a wonderful place to help me focus on using it as a planner and not just another place to store my to-do lists. There's a number of takeaways from today. One is make time and protect the time for your mental fitness. Another one is stop using to-do lists that are disordered. Prioritize your to-do list. It's great to get everything off your mind onto paper or onto OneNote, but you will never, ever, ever complete your to-do list. You'll never get your inbox to, well, I got my inbox to 0 a couple of days ago and now it's full again. And that's why having really important projects is really important. The top 3 projects, there's a wonderful principle going around the internet now which builds on what we've been doing, which is in life, don't try and set too many goals. It takes about 28 days to build a habit. That's why we've structured our online courses around 28 days. But it's also the length of a month. That's why each month we try and share with you a new mental fitness theme and insight. And what I'm going to do this year is have 3 top projects, one of which is finishing off building these online courses. One is writing a really great 2026 mental fitness diary. And I've got one other goal. But they're my top priorities, and I'm going to link back my daily actions, my daily planning back to them. Karen, Wonderful. Yes, we're trying to build a community as well. That's something that we're going to try and do as well. Um, Peter, it's great to have you with the daily. It has been popular. I would say 55% of people have chosen the weekly, and 45% of people have chosen the daily. Jennifer, my psychologist told me once to write as much about my day as I can in my diary. Best advice ever. And you know why that works? Because you're downloading your mind. You're just getting things off your chest. One of the core principles of mental fitness is that our thoughts and our feelings are not facts. When they're up here, when we have our 60,000 thoughts a day, they bubble around, and we think that we believe everything that comes into our mind. Not everything that comes into your mind is true. They're merely suggestions. And so by writing things down on paper, you're externalizing them. And it helps you to get some distance. You know how people say get some perspective? It's one of our tools from the toolkit. Get some perspective. Well, get some literal distance. On paper, the thoughts are about 50 centimeters away from you. And you can read them and think, that sounds so weird. In your head, you believe it. When you read it on paper, it's very different. So that's one of the power of journaling. 007 says, I'm not good at reading, so the video was really helpful. Thank you. We love hearing that the videos help, because we need to be mindful of accessibility and neurodiversity these days, so the videos certainly help. Joanne has asked, is there going to be a Facebook or similar chat group to share ideas or queries? Yes, and one of the features of the online courses will be that there's a community feature there. It's actually similar to Facebook. It's really cool the way the platform works. And we want all the Resilient Agenda supporters to be involved in that platform, whether or not they're able to or have the time or can afford the courses. So we're going to be actually giving away for free some of our courses later in the year, just so everyone can get a bit more used to it. Joanne, I was always someone who was frightened to write down my thoughts and never planned anything. My mantra is now progress, not perfection. That's the growth mindset. Suzanne loves to write. Look, I think we're running short on time here. There's been some wonderful comments. If you would love to write a final comment, a final thought, some feedback, running a small organisation like Resilience Agenda, especially over the last 12 months, it's been really challenging. And having people like you spend your time online with us is really powerful. Having you put your time into using our products, into putting your money into using them, sharing the word with your friends and family, even just using the term mental fitness and trying to inspire others, that's one of the things that we're really proud of and what we do. So if anyone's got any final thoughts or comments, we'd love to hear them. Yes, one of our favourite themes. Katie's just said, I'm looking forward to using my planner. And I should have actually mentioned this. This is just so obvious to me that I should actually make this clearer. There's a time and a place for your phone. They're amazing. Phones, computers, tablets are amazing. But there's also time for reflection. Spending 15 minutes thinking, what's really important today? What are the top 3 things I need to do? What's not terrible in my life? What's not going to make me anxious? And I find that writing and a planner is my place to do that. Organising and prioritising my to-do list is how I take control over an uncertain world. So when there's things on the news you can't control, when my bank balance is going in a different direction than I want, when people are saying things about me that I don't want to hear, I take control by organising my to-do list. So Lucy, Brooke, Kerry, Peter, thank you so much for your support. And stay tuned. This one's been really good. I think we've had about 600 people register for this webinar. We're going to have thousands more watching it on replay. I think one of our plans is to have a quarterly webinar. So we'll try and find a way to figure out what you want to hear about, which mental fitness tools, what challenges you're going through, and how we can help. So, wow. I know I want to go because it's after 10:30 and people have spent an hour with us, but I just want to touch on a couple of really lovely comments here. Marbles, you're really helping me start 25 on a good footing. The second half of last year was really tough, and I'm coming back. What a wonderful way to start the year. My recommendation for everyone, whether you set New Year's resolutions or not, set new month's resolutions. Gives you 12 chances to start again, build new habits if you happen to fall short. Carol, I've been using the diary in the same way. I lost my mum. It's not quite, my mum was an older lady. It's not quite the same as losing a husband and your dogs, but I'm really pleased that it can help you. Peter, I'm glad this was in the top 3. Look, I'm going to let everyone go. Thank you so much for your time. Stay tuned. If you want to learn more, jump onto our socials, Instagram or Facebook, and our website. If you haven't seen our new website, we're making constant changes all the time. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being Resilience Agenda supporters. Thank you for sharing the mental fitness message with the world. And have a wonderful Monday. Happy New Year.